There are moments in life when everything feels normal on the surface. You wake up, you go through your routine, you speak to the same people, you carry the same thoughts. But deep inside, beneath the noise, beneath the area of your daily rhythm, something feels off. Something feels like it's shifting. Like the ground beneath your feet is quietly rearranging itself while no one else seems to notice. This is one of those moments. And the fact that you are here right now, listening to this message, is not random. It is not coincidence. It is not something you just stumbled upon. No, this is a divine interruption. A moment that was written into your timeline long before July 11th ever appeared on your calendar. Because heaven knew there would come a week, a very specific week, where your direction, your path, your decisions, your future would stand at a crossroads. And you, out of all people, needed to be warned. Have you felt it lately? The strange tension in your chest when you're alone. That sudden urge to question things you once felt sure about. That feeling like something is about to happen, but you can't quite explain what it is. You try to ignore it. You tell yourself you're overthinking. You distract yourself with noise, with people, with routine. But it keeps returning. That quiet whisper in your spirit that says, "Pay attention, something is changing." That whisper is not your imagination. That whisper is the beginning of revelation. Archangel Michael does not step forward without reason. His presence is not casual. His voice does not echo unless something significant is unfolding in the unseen realm. And right now, at this very moment, he is stepping into your awareness with urgency, with authority, and with a message that cannot wait. Because what happens this week will not be small. It will not be ordinary. It will not be something you can simply brush off and move on from. This week carries weight. Spiritual weight. The kind that shifts timelines. The kind that opens doors you didn't even know existed, or closes doors you thought would always be there. The kind that reveals people for who they truly are. The kind that forces decisions you've been delaying. The kind that exposes what has been hidden and aligns what has been out of place. And here is the part most people miss. When a week like this arrives, it doesn't announce itself loudly. It doesn't come with obvious signs or clear instructions. It comes quietly, subtly, disguised as normal days, ordinary conversations, small decisions that don't seem important at first. But those small moments, they are not small. They are turning points. That conversation you almost ignore could redirect your future. That feeling you keep brushing off could be divine guidance. That opportunity you hesitate to take could be the door you prayed for months ago. This is how destiny shifts, not in loud explosions, but in quiet decisions. And right now, heaven is watching closely. Because this is not just about what happens around you. This is about how you respond. Archangel Michael is not here to create fear. He is here to awaken awareness, to sharpen your discernment, to pull you out of autopilot and into alignment. Because the greatest danger in a moment like this is not failure, it is distraction. It is missing what matters because you were focused on what didn't. It is choosing comfort when your calling is demanding courage. It is staying silent when your spirit is urging you to move. You see, something has been building behind the scenes of your life. Vitally, strategically, piece by piece. Situations aligning, energies shifting, doors preparing to open or close. And now, as July 11th approaches, that buildup is reaching a tipping point. A moment where things will begin to move. A moment where clarity will replace confusion. A moment where you will be faced with something. An opportunity, a realization, a confrontation, a decision. that will carry more weight than you realize in the moment. And the truth is, not everyone will recognize it. Not everyone will be ready. But you were chosen to hear this before it happens. So you don't walk into this week blindly. So you don't mistake distraction for direction. So you don't ignore the very thing that was sent to elevate you. This is your notice. This is your warning. This is your preparation. Because once this week unfolds, there is no going back to the version of you that didn't know. You are stepping into a moment that will ask something of you, and your answer will determine everything that follows. So listen closely now, because what Archangel Michael reveals next will explain exactly why this week matters more than you think. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you feel this message stirring your spirit. Blessing code 711 is now activated around your path. There are dates that pass like any other, quiet, unnoticed, blending into the rhythm of everyday life. And then there are dates that carry weight, not because of what the calendar says, but because of what heaven has already written into them. July 11th is not just another day on your timeline. It is a marker, a point of intersection between where you have been and where you are about to go. Long before you ever saw this date approaching, it was already recognized in the spiritual realm. Not with noise, not with public announcement, but with precision. Because heaven does not operate in randomness. It operates in timing. And when a specific day is highlighted, when a moment is set apart, it means something has been prepared to unfold that requires your awareness. You may look at July 11th and see just another day in your week. But spiritually, it is a checkpoint. A moment where patterns begin to shift, where hidden things begin to surface, and where decisions begin to carry more weight than usual. It is not about fear. It is about recognition. Because when you recognize the timing, you move differently. You listen more closely. You hesitate less when clarity comes. You become intentional instead of passive. Have you ever noticed how certain days feel heavier than others, even when nothing obvious is happening? How some moments seem to carry a quiet pressure, like something unseen is unfolding just beneath the surface? That is because not all time is equal. Some moments are charged with purpose, and July 11th is one of those moments. Archangel Michael reveals that this date is not the beginning of the shift, but it is the activation point. The moment where everything that has been building behind the scenes begins to move into visibility. The conversations that were forming quietly will start to surface. The realizations you've been avoiding will become harder to ignore. The decisions you've been delaying will demand your attention. This is why the timing matters. Because when a shift activates, it does not ask for permission. It simply begins. And if you are not aware, if you are not grounded, if you are not paying attention, you can easily misread what is happening. You can mistake a necessary ending for loss. You can confuse a divine redirection with rejection. You can hold on to something that is being removed for your own alignment. July 11th is not just about events, it is about direction. There is a reason you have felt unsettled recently. A reason why certain thoughts keep returning. A reason why certain people or situations feel different than they did before. It is because your spirit has already sensed what your mind is still trying to understand. The shift did not start today. It has been forming, slowly, intentionally, leading you toward this exact point. And now, the moment is here. Archangel Michael stands at this threshold, not to control your path, but to make you aware of it. Because awareness is what separates those who move in alignment from those who move in confusion. When you know a moment is significant, you stop treating it casually. You stop ignoring your instincts. You stop dismissing the quiet signals that are trying to guide you. This is why he speaks with urgency. Not because something is wrong, but because something is ready. Ready to shift your direction. Ready to reveal what has been hidden. Ready to move you out of what has been comfortable and into what has been prepared for you. But preparation alone is not enough. Your response matters. Your attention matters. Your willingness to see clearly matters. You are not being asked to have everything figured out. You are being asked to stay present, to stay aware, to recognize that this week is not ordinary, and therefore your mindset cannot be ordinary either. Because here is the truth most people overlook. When a moment like this arrives, it rarely looks dramatic. It looks like a normal day, a simple choice, a conversation that could go one way or another, a feeling you can either listen to or ignore. And yet, within those small, seemingly insignificant moments, your direction begins to change. July 11th is the doorway. What you do as you step through it determines what opens next. This is why you cannot afford to move unconsciously. This is why you cannot afford to dismiss what your spirit is trying to show you. Because this is not just about what is happening around you. It is about what is being activated within you. Clarity is rising. Discernment is sharpening. And the path ahead is beginning to reveal itself, piece by piece, moment by moment. But only if you are paying attention. So as this date approaches, do not rush through it. Do not treat it like any other day. Slow down internally. Listen more deeply. Observe more carefully. Because what appears small on the surface may carry the very answer you have been waiting for. This is not coincidence. This is timing. And July 11th has arrived with purpose. Type I see the timing in the comments if you are ready to walk through this moment with awareness. Blessing code 222 is now aligning your steps. Before anything becomes visible in your life, it always begins in the unseen. That is the pattern of every true shift. It does not arrive loudly. It does not announce itself in a way that everyone can recognize. It starts quietly, internally, almost invisibly, until one day you realize something has changed, and you cannot return to the way things used to feel. And if you are honest with yourself, you have already felt it. Not all at once. Not in a way you could clearly explain to someone else. But in moments. In flashes. In subtle disruptions that didn't make sense at the time. A sudden shift in your mood for no clear reason. A thought that kept repeating, even when you tried to ignore it. A sense of distance from things that once felt familiar. A quiet pull toward something new, even though you couldn't yet define what it was. These are not random experiences. These are signals. Because when a shift begins, it does not start around you, it starts within you. Your spirit begins to adjust before your circumstances ever do. Your awareness begins to expand before your environment reflects it. And this internal movement can feel confusing, even uncomfortable, because it does not match what you see on the outside. You may have found yourself questioning things you never questioned before, looking at people differently, feeling less connected to conversations that once felt natural, even noticing that certain routines no longer bring the same sense of peace or satisfaction. It is as if something inside you is quietly saying, "This is no longer where you belong." That feeling is not rejection. It is redirection. Archangel Michael reveals that what you are experiencing is the early stage of alignment, a necessary phase where your spirit begins to separate from what can no longer move forward with you. And this separation is rarely dramatic. It does not always come with clear explanations or obvious reasons. Sometimes, it simply feels like a quiet disconnection that you cannot fully put into words. And that is where many people become confused. because they try to fix what is actually being shifted. They try to hold on to what is naturally loosening. They try to recreate a sense of normalcy when their spirit is clearly moving in a different direction. But the truth is, when a shift begins, it will always feel unfamiliar at first. It will challenge your sense of stability. It will disrupt your expectations. It will make you question whether what you are feeling is real or imagined. And this is where awareness becomes everything. Have you noticed how your intuition has been speaking more clearly lately? Not louder, but more persistent. That quiet knowing that something is off in certain situations. That subtle resistance when you are about to make a choice that doesn't feel aligned. That inner pause that appears before you say yes to something you would have agreed to without hesitation in the past. That is not doubt. That is discernment awakening. You are beginning to see beyond the surface, to feel beyond appearances, to recognize energy, intention, and direction in ways you could not before. And this level of awareness can feel overwhelming if you are not used to it, because it requires you to trust what you sense even when you cannot fully explain it. There is also another sign you may have experienced, an unusual sense of restlessness. Not the kind that comes from boredom, but the kind that feels deeper. A feeling that something more is waiting, even if you do not yet know what it is. A sense that staying exactly where you are, doing exactly what you have been doing, is no longer enough. This restlessness is not dissatisfaction. It is activation. It is your spirit recognizing that movement is coming. That change is not just possible, but necessary. That something within you is ready to evolve, even if your circumstances have not yet caught up. And then there are the moments of clarity that seem to come out of nowhere. Brief, powerful realizations that shift your perspective instantly. Moments where something suddenly makes sense after a long period of confusion. Moments where you see a person, a situation, or even yourself in a completely different way. These are not coincidences. These are glimpses of alignment. They are evidence that the shift is already unfolding, even if it has not fully manifested yet. Archangel Michael wants you to understand this clearly. You are not waiting for the shift to begin. You are already inside it. What you are feeling now is the early movement, the internal adjustment that prepares you for what is about to become visible. And this is why this week matters so deeply. Because what hath been subtle is about to become clear. What hath been internal is about to reflect externally. What hath been sensed is about to be seen. But here is the key. If you ignore the signs now, you risk misinterpreting what comes next. You may react instead of responding. You may resist instead of aligning. You may hold on to what is leaving and miss what is arriving. This is why you must trust what you have been feeling, even if it does not make complete sense yet, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it requires you to step into the unknown. Because the shift has already begun, and you are not being caught off guard. You are being prepared. To stay aware, stay present, stay connected to what is rising within you. Because what you have been sensing is real. What you have been feeling is valid. And what is coming next will confirm everything your spirit has been trying to show you. Type "I trust the shift" in the comments if you recognize these signs within you. Lesson code 333 is now activating clarity in your path. As this shift begins to unfold in your life, understand that every revelation you receive is not meant to stay with you alone. There are others still walking in confusion, still searching for clarity, still waiting for a light to break through their darkness. When you choose to support this mission through super thanks or a PayPal offering, you are not just giving. You are sowing seeds into souls that are ready to awaken. The word says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not just scripture. It is a living promise over your life. I feel led to say this clearly. Your seed today becomes someone else's breakthrough tomorrow. This is your moment to act, not out of obligation, but out of divine alignment. The PayPal link is in the description, and the QR code is present in every video. This is your access point to participate in something greater than yourself. As you give, heaven will recognize your obedience and multiply what flows back into your life. Step into this moment and release your seed now. There comes a moment in every spiritual shift when guidance is no longer subtle, when what was once a quiet whisper becomes a direct call to attention. That moment is now. Because Archangel Michael does not step forward unless something requires immediate awareness. His presence is not symbolic. It is strategic. It is intentional. And when he speaks, it is because something is unfolding that you must not overlook. Right now, he is not standing at a distance. He is stepping directly into your awareness, into your moment, into this exact point in time with a message that carries both warning and protection. Not to create fear within you, but to awaken precision in how you move, how you respond, and how you discern what is happening around you. Because this is not just any week. This is a moment of exposure. There are things that have been hidden beneath the surface of your life, subtle patterns, quiet influences, unspoken dynamics that are now beginning to rise into visibility. Not all at once, not in a way that feels obvious at first, but in ways that will gradually become undeniable. Conversations that reveal more than intended. Actions that no longer align with words. Situations that suddenly feel different, even though nothing outwardly has changed. And here's what you must understand. This exposure is not happening to confuse you. It is happening to clarify your direction. Archangel Michael speaks with authority in this moment and says, be alert, not afraid. Be aware, not overwhelmed. For what is being revealed is not meant to harm you, but to position you. This is the balance you must hold. Because whenever truth begins to surface, it can feel uncomfortable. It can disrupt your sense of stability. It can challenge your assumptions about people, situations, and even your own decisions. But discomfort does not mean danger. Sometimes, it is the sign that something false is being removed so that something real can take its place. And this is where his protection becomes active. You are not being left to navigate this shift alone. There is a covering over you right now, a presence that is guiding what you notice, what you feel, and even what you are being prevented from stepping into. There are situations you may have recently avoided without fully understanding why. Conversations that did not happen. Opportunities that seemed to close unexpectedly. These were not random occurrences. They were interventions. Moments where you were quietly redirected away from something that did not align with where you are being led. And while it may not have made sense at the time, you are beginning to see that there was a reason behind it. Archangel Michael's role in this moment is not just to warn you about what is shifting, but to ensure that you remain aligned as it unfolds. Because when exposure begins, there is always a temptation to react emotionally instead of responding with clarity. To confront prematurely. To assume before fully understanding. To make decisions based on discomfort rather than discernment. And this is where many lose their direction. Not because they were unaware, but because they moved too quickly without fully seeing what was being revealed. That is why his instruction is precise. Be still and observe. Not passive, not disconnected, but present. Fully aware of what is unfolding without rushing to control it. Because the clarity you need will not come from reacting. It will come from recognizing. You may notice that certain people begin to show different sides of themselves. Not because they have suddenly changed, but because what was hidden is no longer being concealed. You may begin to see intentions more clearly, to sense inconsistencies that you once overlooked, to feel a shift in dynamics that once felt stable. This is not your imagination. This is revelation. And it is happening now because you are ready to see it. But with revelation comes responsibility. Because once you see clearly, you cannot return to what you previously accepted. Once you recognize misalignment, you cannot pretend it does not exist. And once direction becomes clear, you are required to choose whether you will follow it or resist it. This is the moment where protection and warning meet, because Archangel Michael is not only showing you what is shifting, he is guarding your ability to move correctly within it, protecting you from making reactive decisions, shielding you from influences that could pull you off course, guiding you toward clarity, even when the situation itself feels uncertain. You are being positioned, not pressured, guided, not forced. But the awareness you have been given must be honored. This is not the time to ignore what you are sensing, not the time to dismiss what is becoming clear, not the time to return to comfort simply because it feels familiar, because what is familiar is not always what is aligned. And this weak alignment is everything. So listen closely, observe carefully, trust what is being revealed, even if it challenges what you once believed, because the protection around you is real, and the guidance being given is precise. You are not walking blindly into this moment. You are being led through it. Type "I am protected and aware" in the comments if you are ready to move with clarity. Lesson Code 444 is now strengthening your discernment and shielding your path. There is something you must understand at this point in the message, something that Archangel Michael is bringing into sharp focus right now. Not every shift in your life is meant to move you forward. Some shifts are designed to distract you. Some are subtle detours, carefully disguised to look like opportunity, comfort, or even familiarity. And if you are not fully aware, you can step into them thinking you are progressing, when in reality, you are being pulled off course. This is where the warning becomes critical. Because during a week like this, when your direction is vulnerable to change, there are forces, seen and unseen, that attempt to influence your decisions in ways you may not immediately recognize. These influences do not come loudly. They do not announce themselves as wrong. In fact, they often feel easy, convenient, familiar. They align with your habits, your past patterns, your comfort zones. And that is exactly why they are dangerous. You may find yourself drawn back into old ways of thinking, old conversations, old connections that once felt right but no longer align with who you are becoming. It can feel subtle at first, almost harmless. A message from someone you had distanced yourself from. A situation that reappears just when you thought it was resolved. A feeling of nostalgia that pulls you backward instead of forward. This is not coincidence. This is testing. Archangel Michael reveals that when you are approaching a moment of elevation, there is always an attempt to pull you back into what is familiar. Because what is familiar feels safe, even when it is no longer aligned. And the challenge in this moment is not to recognize what is obviously wrong, but to discern what appears right but is actually misaligned. That is the level of awareness required this week. Because distraction does not always look like chaos. Sometimes it looks like comfort. Sometimes it looks like an easy path, a quick decision, a situation that requires no effort or growth. But anything that pulls you away from clarity, from peace, from alignment, it is not meant to guide you forward. You may also notice something else happening, an increase in mental noise. Thoughts that feel scattered, uncertainty where there was once clarity, a sense of pressure to make decisions quickly without fully processing what you are feeling. This is not your natural state. This is interference. Because when your direction is about to shift, confusion often tries to enter first. It tries to cloud your judgment, to make you second-guess your instincts, to rush you into choices that you have not fully understood. And if you are not grounded, if you are not aware, you may mistake that pressure for urgency. But there is a difference. True guidance brings clarity, even if it challenges you. False urgency brings pressure without peace. And this is where Archangel Michael's warning becomes precise. Do not move simply because something demands your attention. Move only when it aligns with your discernment. There will be moments this week where you are presented with choices that seem small on the surface but carry deeper consequences. A response you give, a decision you make, a situation you either engage with or step away from. And in those moments, you must pause, not out of hesitation, but out of awareness. Because what is trying to change your direction is not always external. Sometimes, it is internal. Old fears that resurface just when you are about to move forward. Doubts that appear right before a decision that could elevate you. A sudden lack of confidence in something you were previously sure about. These internal shifts can feel real, convincing even, but they are not always truth. They are echoes of past patterns trying to maintain their place in your present. And if you listen to them without question, they will guide you backward. This is why discernment is not optional right now. It is necessary. You must begin to question what you feel, not in a way that creates doubt, but in a way that creates clarity. Ask yourself, does this bring peace, or does it create pressure? Does this move me forward, or does it pull me back into something I have already outgrown? Does this align with who I am becoming, or who I used to be? These questions will reveal everything. Because what is meant for you will not require you to abandon your clarity. What is aligned with you will not create confusion within you. And what is truly guiding you forward will not feel like a step backward, no matter how comfortable it may seem. Archangel Michael is not only warning you about external influences, he is sharpening your ability to recognize internal ones as well. Because your direction is not just shaped by what happens around you, it is shaped by how you interpret it, how you respond to it, and what you choose to follow. This is the moment where your awareness becomes your protection, where your discernment becomes your guide, and where your willingness to pause, to observe, to truly see what is happening, becomes the difference between moving forward and being pulled back. You are not being asked to fear what is coming. You are being asked to see it clearly. Because once you see clearly, nothing can mislead you. Type "I choose clarity over confusion" in the comments if you are ready to stay aligned. Blessing code 555 is now strengthening your awareness and protecting your direction. There is a moment in every turning point where life stops feeling neutral, where things are no longer just happening around you, but are pulling you in different directions at the same time. That moment is where you stand now. Because what is unfolding this week is not simply a shift, it is a separation. A quiet but powerful division between two paths that are both available to you, but only one of them is meant to carry you forward. And the challenge is this: both paths can look convincing. One path will feel familiar. It will feel easy to step into because you have walked it before. It will not demand much from you. It will not challenge you deeply. It will offer you a sense of comfort, even if that comfort comes with a subtle feeling that something is not quite right. This path is the path of distraction, not because it is chaotic or obviously wrong, but because it keeps you in cycles you have already outgrown. The other path will feel different. Not necessarily harder in a physical sense, but deeper. It will ask more of your awareness. It will require you to trust what you feel even when you cannot fully explain it. It may challenge your habitual responses, your habitual ways of handling situations. This is the path of alignment, and while it may not feel as immediately comfortable, it will carry a sense of clarity, even in its uncertainty. This is the battle you are facing. Not a battle of right versus wrong in the obvious sense, but a battle of alignment versus distraction. A choice between continuing what is familiar or stepping into what is meant for your next level. And the reason this battle feels intense is because both options are within reach at the same time. You may notice this in small moments first. A decision that seems simple, but you feel a pause before making it. A conversation where you sense two different ways you could respond, one that keeps things the same, and one that shifts the dynamic completely. A situation where you can either remain silent as you always have, or speak with a clarity that changes how you are perceived. These are not random moments. They are points of choice, and each choice carries direction. Archangel Michael reveals that during this week, you will be presented with multiple moments like this. Moments where your patterns will try to take over automatically, while your awareness is quietly guiding you toward something different. And the tension you feel in those moments is not confusion. It is contrast. It is your spirit recognizing that you are no longer aligned with the path, even though it still feels accessible. It is the awareness that you have outgrown something, even if it still exists around you. This is where many people hesitate, because stepping into alignment often requires letting go of It requires you to act differently than you have before, to respond in ways that may feel unfamiliar, to choose clarity over comfort. And that choice can feel uncomfortable at first. But here is what you must understand: discomfort is not always a sign of misalignment. Sometimes, it is the sign that you are breaking patterns. The path of distraction will rarely feel uncomfortable in the beginning. It will feel smooth, easy, almost automatic. But over time, it will lead you back into the same cycles, the same questions, the same sense of stagnation you have already experienced. The path of alignment, however, may feel uncertain at first. It may require you to pause instead of react, to observe instead of assume, to trust your discernment instead of responses. But this path leads forward. It leads to clarity, to growth, to a direction that is not shaped by your past, but by your potential. This is why the battle feels real, because you are no longer unaware. You can see both paths now. You can feel the difference between them. And because of that, you cannot move unconsciously anymore. Every choice becomes intentional. Every response becomes meaningful. Every moment becomes an opportunity to either align or distract yourself. Archangel Michael speaks with clarity in this moment. Do not choose based on what is easiest. Choose based on what is true. This is the instruction you must carry with you through this week. Because ease can be deceptive. Familiarity can be misleading. But truth always carries clarity, even when it challenges you. You may find that certain dynamics no longer feel right. That conversations feel draining instead of engaging. That environments feel limiting instead of comfortable. This is not a loss. This is separation. A natural movement away from what no longer matches your direction. And while it may feel uncertain, it is necessary. Because you cannot move into alignment while holding on to distraction. You cannot step forward while repeating what belongs to your past. And you cannot change your direction while choosing the same patterns that kept you where you were. This is the moment where your awareness becomes your guide, where your choices begin to reflect your growth, where your direction is no longer something that happens to you, but something you actively participate in. You are not being forced into change. You are being given the opportunity to choose it. And that choice is happening now. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if you are ready to move forward with clarity. Blessing code 666 is now strengthening your decisions and aligning your path. There are moments when life feels like it is moving forward without interruption, and then there are moments like this, where everything begins to feel as though it is being quietly examined. Not in a way that is obvious or announced, but in a way that reveals truth over time. This is one of those moments, because during this week, it will not just be your direction that is shifting. It will be the people around you, the patterns within you, and the decisions before you that come under a deeper level of awareness. Nothing will remain unnoticed. Not by your spirit, not by your discernment, not by the clarity that is rising within you. Archangel Michael reveals that this is a period of exposure, not to create conflict, but to bring alignment. Because what cannot move forward with you must be revealed before it can be released. And what is truly meant to remain will withstand this level of clarity without confusion, without inconsistency, without resistance. You may begin to notice that certain people feel different, not because they have changed overnight, but because your perception of them is becoming clearer. Things you once overlooked may now stand out. Words that once felt normal may now carry a different tone. Actions that once seemed insignificant may now reveal deeper intentions. And the shift in perception can feel unsettling at first, because it challenges the image you previously held. But this is not misjudgment. This is awareness. You are not being asked to suddenly distrust everyone around you. You are being guided to see clearly who aligns with your direction and who does not. And this clarity will not come through dramatic confrontations or obvious betrayals. It will come through subtle inconsistencies, quiet realizations, and a growing sense that certain connections no longer feel the same. This is part of the examination, because not everyone who has been present in your past is meant to walk with you into your future. And this is not about blame. It is about alignment. People operate from their own level of awareness, their own patterns, their own direction. And when your direction begins to change, not everyone will match it. At the same time, it is not only people being revealed. Your patterns are being revealed as well. The ways you respond to situations, the reactions you have developed over time, the decisions you make without thinking because they have become automatic. These patterns are now being brought into your awareness, not to judge you, but to give you the opportunity to change them. Because patterns shape direction, and if your patterns remain the same, your direction will remain the same, no matter how much you desire change. You may notice moments where you are about to react in a way, and something within you pauses. A moment where you are about to say something you have said many times before, and you suddenly feel the option to say something different. A situation where you are about to follow a decision path, and your awareness presents you with another choice. These are not small moments. These are points of transformation. Because every time you choose differently, you begin to shift your direction in a real and lasting way. And then there are the decisions themselves. Some will appear simple, small, insignificant, but within them, there will be a deeper weight. A sense that this choice matters more than it seems. And this is where discernment becomes essential. Because the outcome of this week will not be determined by one large decision. It will be shaped by a series of smaller ones that accumulate over time. How you respond, what you allow, what you step away from, what you move toward. These choices are being observed, not in judgment but in alignment. Because each one either reinforces your direction or redirects it. Archangel Michael speaks clearly in this moment. What is being revealed is not meant to overwhelm you, but to prepare you. See clearly, choose wisely, and do not ignore what no longer aligns. This is your instruction. Do not rush to conclusions, but do not ignore what becomes clear. Do not force changes, but do not resist them when they arise naturally. Do not cling to foreve when your awareness is guiding you elsewhere. Because this examination is not happening to take something from you. It is happening to ensure that what remains in your life is fully aligned with where you are going. You are being refined, not in a way that diminishes you, but in a way that sharpens your direction. And while this process may feel subtle, its impact will be significant. Because once clarity arrives, you cannot return to unawareness. Once you see clearly, you cannot pretend you do not. And once alignment becomes available to you, choosing distraction becomes a conscious decision rather than an unconscious habit. This is the moment where everything begins to align, internally and externally, where the right connections become stronger and the misaligned ones become clear, where your patterns either evolve or reveal themselves, where your decisions begin to shape a direction that reflects who you are becoming. You are not being tested to fail. You are being examined so you can align. Type "I choose what aligns with me" in the comments if you are ready to move forward with clarity. Lesson code 777 is now strengthening your discernment and refining your path. There are moments in life when time feels open, when you can delay, reconsider, step back, and return later without consequence. And then there are moments like this, moments that do not wait. Moments that arrive with a quiet urgency, not to pressure you, but to position you. This is one of those moments, because this week is not just another sequence of days. It is a window, a precise opening in time where your awareness, your decisions, and your direction are all being brought into alignment at once. And windows like this do not remain open forever. They appear when you are ready, or when you are being called to become ready. They carry an energy that is different from ordinary time, a sense that what you choose now will not simply pass, but will echo forward into what comes next. And the reason this week is critical is not because something external is forcing change. It is because something internal has reached a point where change can no longer be delayed without consequence. You have already felt the shift. You have already sensed the tension between what was and what is trying to become. And now, you are standing at the point where awareness must turn into action. This is the window of decision. Archangel Michael speaks with clarity in this moment. What you choose in this window will determine what follows. Not because you are being judged, but because you are being aligned. This is not about perfection. It is about participation. Because many people reach moments like this and remain passive. They wait for more clarity. They wait for a clearer sign. They wait for circumstances to change before they make a decision. But what they do not realize is that the window itself is the sign. The awareness you feel right now is the clarity you have been waiting for. And if you delay within this window, you do not remain in the same place. You move backward into foreve. You return to patterns that no longer serve you. You allow distraction to regain influence over your direction. This is why the timing matters. Because the window is not just about opportunity. It is about alignment. It is the moment where everything you have been sensing, Everything that has been revealed, everything that has been shifting within you is asking for a response. You may feel this as a quiet pressure, not overwhelming, not forceful but present. A sense that something needs to be decided, something needs to be acknowledged, something needs to be acted upon. And the longer you ignore it, the stronger that feeling becomes. This is not anxiety. This is activation. Your spirit recognizing that you are standing in a moment that matters. You may notice that situations are presenting themselves in ways that require clarity. Conversations that lead to decisions. Opportunities that ask for commitment. Realizations that demand a change in how you move forward. And while each moment may seem separate, they are all connected to this same window. They are all part of the same alignment. Because direction is not changed in one single action. It is shaped through a series of choices that occur within a critical period of awareness. And this is that period. Archangel Michael warns that during this window, distraction will try to appear stronger than usual. Not in obvious ways, but in subtle ones. You may feel the urge to delay decisions, to avoid confronting what has become clear, to return to your comforts instead of stepping into what feels uncertain. These urges are not random. They are resistance. Because alignment requires movement, and movement requires you to leave something behind. This is where the importance of this week becomes undeniable. Because what you leave behind now will not follow you forward. And what you choose to step into now will begin shaping your next chapter immediately. There is no mutual choice in this window. Every decision carries direction. Every response carries consequence. Every moment of awareness carries an opportunity to align or to delay. And the difference between those two outcomes is not determined by circumstance. It is determined by you. This is why Archangel Michael stands with both urgency and assurance. Urgency, because the window is active now. Assurance, because you are not being left without guidance. You already feel what is right. You already sense what is misaligned. You already know where your direction is trying to move. The only question that remains is whether you will act on that knowing. Because once this window closes, the opportunity does not disappear, but the ease of alignment changes. What could have been a clear step forward becomes a more difficult path later. What could have been resolved now may take longer to unravel. What could have been aligned in this moment may require more effort in the future. This is why timing matters. This is why this week matters. This is why you cannot treat this moment casually. You are standing in a window that was prepared for you. A moment where your direction can shift in a way that feels natural, aligned, and clear. But only if you step into it. Only if you respond. Only if you trust what you already know within yourself. This is not about forcing change. It is about allowing alignment. And that alignment is available to you now. Type "I step into alignment now" in the comments if you are ready to act with clarity. Blessing code 888 is now activating decisive movement in your path. As you stand in this window of decision, understand that your response does not just shape your life. It becomes a light for others still searching for direction. There are souls right now waiting for clarity, waiting for truth, waiting for a message like this to reach them at the exact moment they need it. When you release your support through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a platform. You are sowing into a harvest of awakened lives. The word declares, "Those who sow in faith shall reap in abundance," and this is your moment to act in alignment with that promise. I feel this clearly. Your seed today becomes a door of clarity for someone else tomorrow. The PayPal link is available in every video description. and the QR code remains visible as your access point to participate in this mission. Do not delay this act of obedience. Step forward now and release your seed with intention. There is something that must be spoken clearly now, something that Archangel Michael does not soften or delay. Because while there is protection, while there is guidance, while there is a window of alignment open before you, there is also consequence if this moment is ignored. Not as punishment, not as judgment, but as a natural result of choosing not to respond when clarity has already been given. Ignoring a moment like this does not mean nothing happens. It means something continues unchanged. And that is where the danger lies. Because when you have reached a point of awareness, when you have seen what is shifting, when you have felt what is misaligned, when you have recognized that your direction is at a turning point, you are no longer in a place of unknowing. You cannot go back to moving unconsciously. You cannot return to patterns without feeling the weight of it. You will feel it, in the hesitation that grows stronger, in the discomfort that does not go away, in the sense that something is off, even when everything looks the same on the surface. This is what happens when a moment of alignment is ignored. Life does not stop, but it begins to repeat. The same situations, the same patterns, the same cycles that you were meant to move beyond. And the frustration that comes with it will not be because nothing is changing. It will be because you know something should have changed. Archangel Michael reveals that ignoring this warning does not immediately create chaos. It creates delay. A subtle but powerful delay that keeps you in a space that no longer reflects who you are becoming. And over time, that delay begins to feel heavier than any change ever could. You may notice that opportunities begin to feel less clear. Not because they disappear, but because your connection to them weakens. The clarity you once felt becomes harder to access. The confidence you were beginning to build starts to fade. And slowly, almost unnoticed, you begin to settle back into what is familiar. This is how direction is lost. Not through one major mistake, but through a series of ignored moments. Moments where you chose not to act. Moments where you chose over alignment. Moments where you knew what to do, but delayed it. And each time that happens, the path forward becomes less defined. Not because it is gone, but because it is no longer being followed. There is also something deeper that occurs when a warning like this is ignored. You begin to question yourself. You begin to doubt your own awareness. You begin to tell yourself that what you felt was not real, that what you sensed was not accurate, that what you knew internally was somehow incorrect. And this creates a disconnect, not from your direction, but from your own discernment. And that is where confusion grows. Because once you stop trusting what you feel, you become more vulnerable to various influences, to distraction, to guidance that does not align with you. And before you realize it, you are making decisions based on comfort again, rather than clarity. This is why the warning is being given now. Not to create fear, but to prevent this cycle. Because Archangel Michael sees what is ahead if nothing changes. He sees the repetition that would follow. He sees the delay that would build. He sees the frustration that would grow from knowing you were meant to move, but choosing to stay. And he is stepping in now to interrupt that path, to remind you that you are not stuck, that you are not bound to pay that you are not required to repeat what you have already outgrown. But this reminder only becomes reality if you respond. If you ignore it, the path remains available and does not disappear. And that is the truth you must face. Because staying where you are is still a choice. Returning to what is familiar is still a decision. and repeating the same patterns is still a direction. But it is not the one that has been prepared for you. This is the moment where you must decide whether awareness will lead to action or be left as recognition without movement. Because recognition without action changes nothing. It only makes you more aware of what is not changing. Archangel Michael speaks firmly here. Do not ignore what has been revealed. For what you choose not to act upon now will return again, but with greater weight. This is not a threat. It is truth. Because unaddressed alignment does not disappear. It returns until it is acknowledged, until it is acted upon, until direction is finally chosen. You are not being asked to do everything at once. You are being asked to not ignore what you already know, because what you already know is enough to move forward. And if you move now, the path will open further. If you delay, the path will narrow. This is the difference. This is the consequence. This is why this moment matters. Type "I will not ignore this moment" in the comments if you are ready to respond with clarity. Blessing code 999 is now breaking cycles of delay and restoring your forward movement. There is a different outcome waiting for you in this moment, a completely different direction that begins to form the instant you choose alignment over clarity over confusion, and awareness over delay. Because just as ignoring this moment carries consequence, responding to it carries transformation. Not in a distant, abstract way, but in a real, immediate shift that begins to unfold the moment your decision aligns with what your spirit has already been showing you. This is where everything changes. Not because the world around you suddenly becomes perfect, but because your relationship to it becomes clear. And clarity is what moves you forward faster than anything else. When you respond in alignment, the first thing you will notice is not a dramatic external change. It is an internal shift. A sense of steadiness that replaces hesitation. A quiet confidence that replaces uncertainty. You begin to feel grounded in your decisions, even if they are new, even if they require you to move differently than before. This is the beginning of real movement. Because when your internal state aligns, your external direction follows. Archangel Michael reveals that alignment activates flow. Not effortless ease in every situation, but a natural progression where things begin to connect more clearly. Where decisions no longer feel forced. Where the next step becomes visible once the current one is taken. You may notice that situations begin to resolve themselves more quickly. Not because they disappear, but because your clarity allows you to handle them differently. You no longer overanalyze what you already understand. You no longer stay in conversations that no longer align. You no longer hesitate in moments where your discernment is already clear. This is what alignment does. It simplifies what once felt complicated. It sharpens what once felt unclear. It moves you forward without unnecessary resistance. And as you continue to respond in alignment, something else begins to happen. Your environment starts to shift in response to you. The people who align with your direction become more evident. The opportunities that match your movement begin to appear more naturally. The situations that do not belong begin to fall away without force. This is not coincidence. This is response. Because when you move in alignment, life begins to meet you in that same frequency. What you are no longer aligned with cannot remain in the same way. And what is meant for you becomes easier to recognize because you are no longer distracted by what is not. You will also notice a shift in your energy. A release of the tension you have been carrying. A sense of relief that comes from no longer resisting what you already know. Because much of the discomfort you have felt was not from the situation itself, it was from the hesitation, from the delay, from the internal conflict between what you felt and what you were choosing. Once that conflict ends, Your energy changes. You move with more clarity. You speak with more intention. You decide with more confidence. And this begins to affect everything around you. Archangel Michael speaks clearly here. When you align with truth, truth begins to align with you. This is the reality of this moment. Because alignment is not just about making the right decision. It is about stepping into a direction where the right things begin to meet you. You may also begin to experience moments of confirmation, small but undeniable signs that you are moving correctly, conversations that affirm your decisions, opportunities that appear at the right time, a sense of peace that remains even when the situation itself is still unfolding. These confirmations are not random. They are reinforcement. They are the result of choosing alignment in a moment that required it. And as you continue forward, you will begin to see that what once felt uncertain is now becoming structured. That what once felt distant is now becoming accessible. That what once felt confusing is now becoming clear. This is the path that was prepared for you. Not a path without challenges, but a path where every challenge carries purpose, and every step moves you forward rather than in circles. You are no longer reacting. You are directing. You are no longer following patterns. You are creating new ones. You are no longer waiting for clarity. You are moving with it. This is the power of responding in alignment. It does not just change your current moment, but changes your trajectory. And once your trajectory changes, everything that follows begins to shift accordingly. This is why this moment matters. Because the decision you make now does not stay in this week. It carries forward into what comes next. It shapes the opportunities you encounter. It influences the people you connect with. It determines the direction your life begins to move toward. And that direction is now in your hands. Archangel Michael stands with assurance in this moment, not just as a guide, but as a witness to your choice. Because once you step into alignment, you are not stepping alone. You are moving with clarity, with protection, and with a direction that reflects who you are becoming. This is your moment to move forward. This is your moment to trust what you already know. This is your moment to align. Type "I move in alignment" now in the comments if you are ready to step forward with clarity. Blessing code 1010 is now activating forward movement and opening your path. Now the message shifts from awareness into action. Because there comes a point where knowing is no longer enough. We're feeling the shift, recognizing the signs, and understanding the moment must translate into something real, something intentional. And this is that point. This is where Archangel Michael brings the message into full clarity and says, you are not just here to observe this moment, you are here to activate within it. Because alignment does not complete itself. It responds to your movement. There is something powerful about this exact phase you are in right now. You are no longer in confusion. You are no longer unaware. You have seen the patterns. You have felt the shift. You have recognized the choices in front of you. And because of that, the next step is not complicated, but it is decisive. You must act on what you already know, not what you are still questioning, not what you are still waiting to confirm, but what has already become clear within you. This is the activation. Archangel Michael speaks with directness here. Do not search for new answers. Move with the truth you already carry. This is where many hesitate. They wait for more clarity, more signs, more confirmation. But the truth is, the clarity you are seeking has already been given. It may not be complete in every detail, but it is enough for your next step. And the longer you delay waiting for more, the more you risk stepping out of the flow that has already begun. Activation is not about doing everything at once. It is about doing the next right thing immediately. You may already know what that looks like. It may be a decision you have been postponing, a boundary you have been avoiding, a conversation you have been delaying, a step forward you have been hesitating to take, or even something as simple as choosing not to return to a pattern you know no longer aligns. These are not small actions. They are defining ones. Because the first step you take now sets the tone for everything that follows. You must also understand that action in this moment is not always loud or visible. Sometimes, the most powerful movement is internal. A decision you make within yourself that changes how you respond moving forward. A commitment to no longer accept what you have outgrown. A quiet shift in your mindset that redefines your direction without needing external validation. This is still action. This is still activation. And it matters. Because once you activate, everything begins to respond. Your clarity strengthens. Your direction stabilizes. Your confidence builds, not from outcome, but from movement. You begin to trust yourself more because you are no longer ignoring what you know. And this trust becomes the foundation for everything that follows. Archangel Michael reveals something important here. The moment you act in alignment, resistance loses its hold. Not because it disappears entirely, but because it no longer controls your direction. It no longer delays your movement. It no longer creates the same level of confusion. Why? Because you have already chosen. And choice is power. There is also something else that happens when you activate in this moment. You close the gap between awareness and reality. What you have been sensing internally begins to take form externally. Situations begin to shift. Conversations begin to reflect your clarity. Opportunities begin to align with your movement. This is not coincidence. This is response. Because life moves with you when you move with truth. But this only happens if you act now. Not later. Not when it feels easier. Not when everything is perfectly clear. Now, while the window is still open, while the clarity is still strong, while the momentum is still building. Because delay weakens activation, and hesitation creates distance between you and the direction you are meant to step in. This is why Archangel Michael's message carries urgency in this moment. Not to pressure you, but to remind you that timing matters. That there is a flow to this shift, and your action is what keeps you within it. You do not need to overthink this. You do not need to complicate it. You already know what your next step is. And if you do not fully know, you know enough to begin. That is all that is required. Begin. Move. Respond. Because once you do, everything else will follow in alignment with that decision. You are not waiting for your life to change. You are the one initiating the change. This is your activation. This is your movement. This is your moment. Type IACT now in the comments if you are ready to step forward without delay. Blessing code 1111 is now activating decisive action and strengthening your path forward. This is the moment where everything comes together. Not as a theory, not as a possibility, but as a declaration. Because what has been revealed to you throughout this message is not simply guidance. It is confirmation that something deeper is already in motion. And now, Archangel Michael steps forward one final time, not with a warning, not with instruction, but with a prophetic declaration over your life. Your direction and being were written. Not solely, not eventually, but now. There are moments when change feels gradual, almost unnoticeable. But there are also moments when a shift reaches a point where it can no longer remain hidden. where everything that has been building begins to move at once. This is that moment. This is the point where your awareness, your decisions, and your alignment converge into a new trajectory. You are no longer where you were, and you are not returning to it. What once felt stable has been examined. What once felt and have been challenged. What once felt uncertain has now become clear. And because of that, your path cannot remain the same. Archangel Michael declares, the moment you have stepped into has already begun to alter your direction. What you have chosen in awareness has been received in the spirit, and what has been received will now unfold in your reality. This is not symbolic. This is movement. Because every decision you have made in alignment has already begun to shift what comes next. The conversations you will have, the opportunities you will encounter, the people you will connect with, these are no longer forming from your past patterns. They are forming from your present alignment. And this is where the power of this moment becomes undeniable. Because you are not waiting for your future to change. You have already initiated it. You may not see the full picture yet. You may not understand how everything will unfold. But that is not required. What is required is trust. Trust that what you have aligned with is real. Trust that what you have chosen carries forward. Trust that what is being rewritten is not taking something from you, but repositioning you for something greater. There will be confirmation, not always in the way you expect, but in ways that you will recognize. Moments where things fall into place without force. Situations where clarity arrives exactly when needed. Encounters that feel aligned in a way you cannot explain but immediately understand. These are not coincidences. These are continuations. Evidence that your direction has shifted and that what follows is now responding to that shift. But there is something else you must understand as you move forward from this moment. Not everything that leaves your life during this transition is a loss. Some things are being removed because they no longer belong in your direction. Some doors are closing because they were never meant to lead you where you are now going. Some connections are fading because they do not match the frequency of who you are becoming. And while this may feel uncomfortable at times, it is not something to resist. It is something to recognize. Because you cannot move into a new direction while holding on to what belongs to your past. This is why Archangel Michael's presence hath been so clear in this message. Not just to guide you into this moment, but to stand with you as you move beyond it. You are not stepping forward alone. You are stepping forward with clarity, with awareness, and with a direction that is no longer slukayarikaki. It is intentional. This is your new trajectory. This is your new movement. This is your new alignment. And it has already begun. So do not question it. Do not delay it. Do not return to what you have already outgrown. Because the version of you that stands here now, the one who has seen clearly, who has chosen alignment, who has acted without delay, that version of you is not meant to go backward. It is meant to move forward, fully, confidently, without hesitation. Archangel Michael's final words in this moment are clear. Stand firm in what hath been revealed. Walk boldly in what has been chosen. For your direction is no longer uncertain. It is established. This is your declaration. This is your confirmation. This is your new beginning. Type "My direction is change" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now sealing your path and activating your new direction. As your direction is being rewritten, understand this truth deeply. Your obedience in this moment does not end with you. Every word that reached you today is a seed meant to multiply into the lives of others who are still waiting for their moment of awakening. When you release your support through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a message, you are becoming part of a divine harvest. The Lord declares, as you give, it shall return to you pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing, and this is your moment to step into that living promise. I feel this strongly. Your seed today becomes someone else's turning point tomorrow. The PayPal link is available in every video description, and the QR code is present in the bottom right corner. This is your gateway to participate in this mission. Do not hesitate, do not delay. Act now and release your seed as a prophetic act of alignment.